Welcome to Zero Gravity's podcast. Today I have my good friend Jack. He is the co-founder and CEO of Grid. Before we get too deep into Grid, give us a brief introduction into yourself and how you became the co-founder at Grid.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to be here. Thanks for having me. We got Jax and Jax. Should be a fun time. But yeah, a little bit of background on myself. So I spent most of my career building technology. I worked for Lenovo for about 7 years, doing everything from product redesigns to operations, kind of in aggregate, a lot of global supply chain reformation, new product launches, competitive breakdowns, really fun stuff. It's where I kind of first got introduced into blockchain technology. We were evaluating for how we deal with our suppliers, and basically, from there, ended up going to get back and get my MBA at Harvard Business School. And I knew I wanted to start my own business. And for me, it was it's going to be basically either blockchain or AI. My roommate and I ended up basically messing around in the blockchain space, doing really well with some early projects that we helped out in the great NFT bull run of 2021. And from there, we took kind of those things and we decided that we really wanted to build our own game. So we actually started out as a game studio. We built and launched our own game on the Solana network. And through that process, basically, we saw a lot of things that we thought really needed to be solved in order for this market to scale and to reach the number of consumers that we wanted to reach. So we decided to just kind of shelve what we were doing on the studio side, build some infrastructure, and that really led us to where we are today with Grid. We now work with well over 100 games across 12 different ecosystems at least, and our main goal is kind of providing really the best experience for users as they're trying to discover and get into different games.
Well, I got to say that's an amazing adoption. So talk to us a little bit about Grid itself, because let's imagine somebody's never heard of it, never heard of this product. Give them the quick elevator pitch. What does it enable in the industry?
Yeah, really what we've been working towards, and the way we kind of saw the market developing was that you had all of these different games that were being built. And simultaneously, you have new networks that are continuously coming online, new chains, new sub-chains, L2s, L3s, all these different pieces. And from a user perspective, what that creates is a bunch of complexity. Complexity where you might find a game that you like on one chain, might do all of the annoying things that it takes to kind of set up your account there, things like downloading a wallet application or creating your profile inside of the game, only to find out that if you want to go play a game that's on another chain, you've got to redo all those steps. You might have to fund it with liquidity, all these different pieces. And that's really where we started out from the infrastructure side. We wanted to create a single place that users could come in. They could access all of Web3 gaming from a single account. And in doing so, we found that there were a number of games, a number of partners that really shared that vision with us. And so it expanded to basically building out our own ecosystem and network, which is now the Grid. And so our goal is basically to empower interconnected digital experiences that are fun and engaging for users. And really what that means is, we want to, keep true to the mission of Web3, which was to tear down, a lot of the walled gardens that were built up in kind of the Web 2.0, if you will, back in, those kind of different pieces when people were talking about it, and build connections. And that's why, we've launched basically partnerships and connections into not only all of these different games that we work with, but also major Web 2 ecosystems like Amazon and Reddit that we actually put together partnerships in Q4.
Yeah, and to help the customers kind of visualize this, talk to us through, we'll call it like the customer journey. So let's imagine I'm a new Web3 user, and is it I sign into Grid, you guys automatically create me a wallet, and then that wallet and that balance is essentially interoperable with all of the existing games. We could almost think of it like a Web3 Steam of sorts.
I think, at the end of the day, like gaming in and of itself spans more than just kind of the PC platform. Web3 games have a lot of games that are on the PC, but also you have, your kind of browser-based games, you have your mobile games. Now we're finally seeing some games actually reach console with things like Off the Grid. And so more so, like, yes, so to your point, like being able to have a single account, sign on into all these different games, a single wallet management system where all of your assets can live. And basically, whether you're playing a game that's on Avalanche, or playing a game that's on Solana or Polygon, whatever these different networks are, it doesn't really matter to the end gamer. They just want to play fun games. And so being able to kind of have that ability to take your profile with you is really, really cool. And then what we've been doing in addition to that is saying, well, your internet presence and your gaming presence, they don't need to be basically, kind of separated either. And so, what we're envisioning is a world where basically, the internet in itself can be, a game. And the idea of being able to be part of a community, get rewards from those different pieces is why we also built one of our SocialFi applications. And so, being able to plug that into, now you can kind of log in with your account from directly from Reddit. You can basically connect your X account. We're going to be expanding into, many different social media platforms that now are creating kind of a total user profile for, the gamer that's able to basically like have an identity that will go with them as they move from platform to platform. And in doing so, if they become evangelists for a game, or they're talking about it in a subreddit, or they're basically posting about it on X or Telegram or any of these different channels, they can actually, get kind of credit for being that evangelist for those different games as well, and being a really great community member. And so, as we're trying to do this, like, yes, it's about kind of that single access point for games, but also broadening it to say, we do a lot of things that are, connected via the internet. And why not have like something where basically all of those things actually are interacting and kind of bolstering each other?
Yeah, I'm quite curious about how you guys achieve this level of chain abstraction. Yes, like if you have a game on Avalanche, or maybe even have a game that has its own specific app chain, how are you guys specifically trying to connect together all of these games on disparate chains? I remember talking with the founder of Gelato, and he's like, yeah, the future, it's just going to be, app chains everywhere that I can see. So how do you guys work on connecting all of these pieces together?
Yeah, basically, as you're kind of talking about it, it's really a lot about, how you're kind of abstracting away the complexities of the blockchain experience for the user. And so, when you're signing in, you're with a specific wallet. We actually have the ability to kind of not only, our robust system that connects to like 12 different chains right now, but we built it in such a way where we can basically plug in support for new chains as they're being developed as well. And so, as we're continuing to basically, let's, scale out the grid network, that's the future that we're building for. Our base thesis is that the end case of Web3 gaming will be, tens of thousands of games that are going to be across potentially hundreds, if not, thousands of app chains. And, the more successful a product is, then the more, they kind of get pushed towards even creating their own app chain, L2, L3. And so we don't see that slowing down really anytime soon. So the ability to navigate that for the users is just going to become more and more important as that kind of matrix of new chains gets continually bigger.
Yeah, so we've talked about it from the user perspective. So the single sign in, the single wallet balance, and then the kind of the obfuscation under the hood. From the game developer's perspective, how does this look? Is it like, hey, maybe I built a game on Arbitrum, and then I want to have it be available in this larger store. So how does like a new game kind of integrate with you guys?
Yeah, well, there's a number of different ways that basically they can do that. We have our content distribution platform called Terminal that you kind of described as the beginnings of where we're trying to get to. What does potentially a Steam and Web3 really look like from those different perspectives? And so they can basically distribute content from multiple chains directly to a user's account and wallet by basically creating a profile and going through their onboarding process with us. And I think what's really cool in the world that we're envisioning for this is a game that might choose, say, an Avalanche subnet that they want to go build, like Off the Grid, right? They want to be their own L1 on Avalanche, and we think that's awesome that they are going to go do that. They might do that for technical reasons. They might do it for the community support reasons. There's a host of reasons that you're going to go and choose which chain that you're on. But at the end of the day, what we saw is when we were developing games is that you do get kind of siloed then into that ecosystem, right? And they're like in Web3, they kind of almost was developing this tribalism between these different chains. And we don't think that that's how this space should be built out. So, we're envisioning and building for a world in which, okay, you've got your entire basically, subnet that's built for your game, but perhaps you want to go create a collectible from your game that's actually on Solana's network, right? And you should be able to go do that. And a lot of games, a lot of even the more mature games, they've launched multi-chain capabilities. They've been able to tap into those communities and those ecosystems, and that helps a game to go grow. And so, that's the piece that we're also basically building towards is, not only right now can a game come on and distribute their assets across multiple chains directly to users, but why not, help those games also become a multi-chain game, and even more so, then take it another step forward, and you start to get into the idea of what true interoperability can do for games and unlocking the potential for those assets where, maybe it's an NFT from a PFP collection that has multiple use cases in different games, or even, hey, there's big game X that has a bunch of users. I want to give the holders of their super rare, NFT that they have inside of their game something special inside of my game, and basically like say that asset has a use case, and that's really, from a technical standpoint, very, very possible. What I think is great about this being kind of a blockchain piece is like it's all about incentives, and so building the right incentive mechanisms for those games to be able to collaborate and work together. That's where I think this is going to get really fun, and we're going to start to see new things in games that can't be replicated in or really without blockchain technology.
Yeah, it's a really exciting future. I do really think that it's like stable coins, games. These are the things that are really going to bring users on chain. So talk to us. I know you guys have a lot of different features like nodes. You've got Arena, you got Terminal. Help us try to kind of make sense of these different features that you guys have and how they kind of fit into your ecosystem.
Yeah, the as we really started out, one of the first things that we wanted to try and do was create this most simple and easy onboarding vehicle for users kind of into games. And we had an opportunity to basically work with the Amazon Games team and get the first digital only product that's Web3 enabled on their marketplace. And so today you can go buy a pack of grid credits on Amazon for $9.99. Come to our website and be able to get your first NFT from a game, in a really, really short amount of time, and using your existing Amazon basically credit card and payments. And so we built kind of some of these different rails to be able to help the games to onboard new users, and that's really where kind of the beginnings of what Terminal is were founded. And so we'll be continuing to expand the functionality into that side, but the other side, as I mentioned, was we wanted to actually like be able to create these kind of truly interconnected experiences for users that also brought gamification into it. And so when we kind of saw the SocialFi meta developing, we think this is a really cool way to build new incentive mechanisms to help early games or communities bootstrap or create brand activations that actually kind of pierce the veils of a lot of these walled gardens. And in November, we were able to basically do a huge activation with Jarritos, which is a really cool Web2 brand that does soft drinks, if you know it, for Day of the Dead, in partnership with Reddit, and one of our development, our game partners, Seedon Networks, and a game that basically we've been kind of co-developing. Actually, it was the game that we had built a few years back that we're working on re-releasing with them. And it was really cool. We were able to. This is basically how Arena. The purpose for Arena, which was being able to connect those social accounts and create an overall profile of who you are as a gamer. But we were able to basically drive about 10 million different impressions on Reddit for that activation, and X and Discord, and it basically take users that bought kind of their Reddit NFTs from their platform into our SocialFi application. And then from there, they did this entire digital scavenger hunt, which culminated in playing a branded Jarritos level inside of the game that we have been working on with Seedon. And through that, actually, They won NFTs, they won a ton of different prizes. We gave away a gaming PC and just created a ton of fun. And it left Jarritos with this awesome campaign that drove a ton of brand awareness. Additionally, they created this entire new community on Reddit for them to go and basically work with. And the NFTs that they were able to get, we're also working to make them playable inside the games. So as we're kind of looking at this as how the internet's evolving, we want to create a network that creates that seamless abstraction experience for users, gives them access to the most content in the most easy way possible, and then also creates fun ways to kind of engage even outside of the game in these different ways with kind of the social apps.
Yeah, I have to say one incredible thing of the many incredible things you guys done is how you've been able to secure these like very, we'll call them big Web2 partnerships from Reddit to Amazon. Talk to us a little bit about how you were able to get the adoption, because I know we have many like crypto listeners that are like, whoa, like how do you get some of these major brands on board with crypto?
Yeah, I mean, well, like Reddit, they already had kind of, I think that they continue to be one of the sleeping giants. We've seen them more recently, basically be leaning into this technology. We're not sure where they're going to kind of land, if with the new administration coming in, but they, I believe, are kind of this Web3 sleeping giant. They've got 30 million basically NFTs that they've minted to, about 18 million unique holders that are inside the Reddit ecosystem. It's all well before us. And so how we kind of got that was by it's really about a lot of my career has been spent building strategic partnerships. When I was at Lenovo, I managed our relationships with our largest suppliers, a lot of the people that build even things like the iPhone, network of 500 different ones, including some of the biggest in the world. Then became chief of staff, and I managed kind of the top level partnerships. So this is something that I kind of do know very, very well. It's about how you kind of want to figure out the different avenues or areas that you want to participate, and then you want to basically try and get the right introductions, and really work towards doing that. Sometimes even cold calling can start a conversation. But I think like one thing I've learned throughout my career is if you're looking at this and you're like, yeah, how do I kind of build these different partnerships in different ways? I would say the first thing is just don't turn down conversations. Like, and with really anybody. Like some of the best opportunities that I've had have just come from a conversation that I had no intention of this even driving towards those different pieces, and maintaining your network and just basically being a good guy in the business world can lead to some of these things. So the Reddit piece actually came in. It was actually the Jarritos side. We had basically been working with Jarritos on things we might be able to do on the Amazon platform. And Jarritos was going to do this big activation with Reddit. They wanted to gamify it. And so they came to us and then basically was like, hey, we want to go do this cool thing. And that's where they came from. But it had actually started a year and a half ago when I had met Mike from Jarritos via our Amazon connections, and on the Amazon front, how we kind of got there was similarly like getting the right introduction into those different pieces and looking at basically established networks and trying to figure out got an introduction to a great person leading kind of some of the Web3 initiatives there, and just showcasing them what we're trying to do. You have to be able to play ball a little bit, and work within the bounds of what they're able to go do, but at the same time a lot of these companies they are looking to basically do innovative things. So I think being in the conversation, maintaining good relationships, and never turning down kind of an introduction or a new conversation, because you never really know where it might lead.
Well, I 100% agree with that. I'm a big podcaster myself, so I talk with a bunch of people. So talk to us a little bit about SocialFi, because you brought that up a few times. And when I think most of our listeners think of SocialFi, they're thinking of Lens, they're thinking of Farcaster. What do you think of when you hear SocialFi, and like how do you specifically use that term?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, watching some of those products basically come out, as well as when you think of SocialFi, you might think of like farming, right? And every project talks about how, nowadays, I think, there's a new other chain coming out that, is like, not for farmers, but at the end of the day, they're going to launch this incentive program. And the truth is, we know from economics 101 that incentives work, and more so when you're trying to build in the Web3 space. Like being able to bring your community with you and provide rewards to them, we think is a really, really strong, basically, premise of it. I think the problem in like the early days of a lot of the farming that we saw though was, you had this giant buildup that would culminate in kind of, maybe a token launch or some kind of event that everyone was basically working towards and providing all these different things. And once that happens, it's like, okay, everything goes away. And for us, we were like, well, to be honest, like gaming should be like one of them, like a really, really great avenue for this, because why not be able to reward your community continuously for being evangelists of what you're doing and being, basically a part of like the growth strategy of how games can bootstrap and kind of get their name out there and be able to provide more than just, a token allocation, but, really cool collectibles from the game and, all sorts of different things. Even what we did with Haritos was people got limited edition SB Nike Dunks and physical products and, cool things for just participating and being a part of the ecosystem. And we think that is just a really strong base idea for a use case of blockchain and crypto. And, it's something that we want to, continue to develop out and keep in our wheelhouse, because it helps. Right now we've delivered, I think it's over half a million, different missions over the last like 4 months that people have done. And just like, this is for a network, not just for Grid, but for our ecosystem of, well over 130 games that we work with, in addition to infrastructure partners. And so being able to go and facilitate those type of things, we think are really cool. When you think about the social aspects of this, I think that, the advent of this, of a lot of like the AI technology that's coming online, a lot of the generative content that's coming out, a lot of the idea of not understanding, what, like, people don't realize how much their data that's being created and being collected and being utilized by all these different companies to train these models, to do these different pieces, and that is really one of the superpowers of, I think, the blockchain space. So, the intersection of like social media, AI, and blockchain, I think in the next 10 to 15 years as that space develops, because you need to be able to track authenticity. You need to be able to understand basically where the different data layers are, where your information is being stored, how it's being used, and having a completely transparent ledger that is immutable, that basically can provide those type of kind of signals of like when your data is accessed, when basically, and how you're doing it. Not only that, but be able to actually be compensated for those things, which none of us are today, in any shape or form, is just going to be something that we're really bullish on as in the next couple of years, and we're trying to help build some of the foundations for that.
Well, yes, we're obviously very bullish on on-chain AI as well. So talk to us a little bit about how you see Grid kind of implementing or using AI in the future. Like, what are some plans you guys personally have?
Well, as we kind of mentioned, we're really good at building strategic partnerships. We have a couple unreleased announcements of people that we're working with in that space that we're going to be doing some pretty fun things with. We're looking at how we can first serve our kind of gaming communities and the different studios that we work with in the best way possible. We use AI internally for lots of different things. As a startup founder, you can find a ton of basically benefits and efficiencies just from using some of the basic tools that are out there, which is I think really important for every company to be looking at. But at the same time, we're trying to think through, how can we basically create, the best products or work with the best partners. And, that's a lot of what, like, our partnership with Zero G is kind of, starting to basically build out is, I love their vision of building this, OS layer that's powered by, AI, that, a decentralized approach to it, is even more important in my view, because a lot of this technology honestly scares the absolute shit out of me. And being able to say, hey, when you actually are decentralizing both the control, the data, the access, and I think that is where the intersection of AI and blockchain is going to be so powerful. Where I could in a world have an operating system that, with my own AI basically assistant that knows me, that tracks my data, but all that data is secured behind, a different firewall and not accessible to those different people. And so, we're working with Zero G on how we're going to be deploying different pieces. We also have, ongoing conversations and work streams with some really great partners I can't talk about that will be kind of coming into that fray. But we are basically very much looking at what are the best use cases of this different technology, because similar to like the SocialFi question, it's like, yeah, you can launch a social application and it can be immensely successful for a short period of time because of you have this great incentive of the TGE. But what's the longevity, and what's the natural sustainable path to using the technology? And with AI right now, I feel like it's very similar. It's like, I have tons of projects that are slapping AI on everything they're doing, or they're going to run down, kind of this different rabbit hole of like, hey, we're going to go do XYZ stuff. There's nothing wrong with going and experimenting, but I think for us, we want to be, really, really careful with the partners that we're going to work with, as well as the products that we want to really invest in. And there's some really, really cool applications that I think will come online specifically in the gaming side in the next like year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, and in terms of the gaming impact, do you think it's like, hey, non-player characters are going to be so much, more interesting, and games are just going to be way more dynamic in the way that they can change storylines? How do you personally think like games will change with AI?
I mean, there's so many different capacities at which this technology can be applied, and of course, as a gamer, you think about those like NPCs in a game, and actually like having them kind of be an AI agent, and there's different pieces, and there's some amazing YouTube videos of some people that are already doing that in the modding space that you might want to go check out. There's a guy who tries to convince the AI agents that they're who are only like living in the Skyrim world, that they're in the Matrix, and he's going to help them get out of the Matrix. It's There's a lot of crazy Black Mirror level stuff that's kind of going on in that world. But from a tooling perspective, being able to use AI to do procedural generation of environments, being able to do on the fly customization of in-game items, being able to kind of streamline a lot of those things that have been previously had taken massive teams to be able to go do from a live services perspective of being able to update content. A lot of these different pieces I think will be applicable on the tooling side, and then you're going to see some probably mind-bending stuff of what's going to come out in the actual gameplay. And so, I honestly, I can't even tell you where probably a lot of that level stuff will go. I'm excited and as well as slightly frightened by it, but I'll be playing the games either way. So.
Yeah, I feel like that's the sentiment everyone comes in. They're like, it's kind of scary, but it's very cool. So we're just gonna keep going. So finally, tell us about some upcoming milestones you guys have coming up that the community can kind of look forward to, and then we'll go into where people can find you online.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the process of getting to that level of abstraction where users can move between all these different ecosystems seamlessly, we're going to be launching basically the entirety of Grid Network, which is in testnet right now, that will actually allow us to really connect to all, provide that seamless experience, all the different things that we've talked about. And so in the process of doing that, our next step is basically launching our nodes, the circuit nodes, which we haven't talked about. But these are the first step in creating a really great decentralized community of participants that basically will be validators inside of our ecosystem. This is going to be our season one, kind of our OG, if you will, forgive the pun on the Zero G podcast, but basically group of node providers. And so, that's a really exciting milestone that we're planning for, and will be coming out in the coming weeks. We haven't set an exact date as of right now, but definitely stay tuned and follow us on X, and join our Discord to basically be able to get, we still have some whitelist spots available, I believe. And then basically into mainnet launch, as well as rolling out some of these partnerships and features that we have with Zero G, with some of the partners that we can't talk about right now, expanding the partnerships that we do have with Amazon and Reddit. We've got some really, really cool plans of some applications we're going to be building in the Reddit ecosystem, as well as how we're going to be bringing more distribution to our gaming partners in via Amazon. Yeah. So those are kind of the high level priorities for us right now, is executing this node sale and then moving into mainnet launch and TGE.
Well, very exciting stuff. So finally, they can follow Grid. What's the username, and then tell us where they can find you online. I don't know if you're a LinkedIn guy, if you're more of an X guy. Personally, an X guy myself. So shout out your
Yeah,
profile
no,
if you could.
you can find me. I'm Captain Jaw on X, and then for Grid Network, it's just at Grid Network. It's GR1D and network, and so definitely give us a follow, and then you can get all of our links to our Discord, Telegram chats, everything via that profile as well.
Well, thank you, Jack, so much for coming on here, and let's continue building the future of Onchain.